hello and namaste to all my dear students and the viewers who are watching this video. So today, as you all know that we have already started online classes for class 10. So from today we are going to start online classes for class 12. In this we have included all the three streams: science, commerce and arts. So I will be taking mathematics for science and commerce. Is that clear? Okay, so today's class I'm going to start a very important topic. It's calculus, and you're going to get 40 marks from this particular topic. But before I start calculus, what I want you all to understand is the question pattern, the ISC question pattern. That is very important, because unless and until you know the value of each subject for how much marks is going to come, you will not be able to score good marks. So today, first, before I begin calculus, we are going to understand, analyze the question pattern in detail. So let us begin. ISC Mathematics 2021. So today we are going to, as I have already told you, first we are going to discuss the syllabus and question pattern for the year 2021. So as you can see, ISC Mathematics is of 100 marks. There is no project. So it is split into three sections. Section A is compulsory for all candidates. Candidates will have to choose choice of attempting questions from either section B or C. So you either choose B or C. So that is up to you. Now our main emphasis will be on section A, because that is the most important and it carries 80 marks. Now, just see, section A, candidates will be required to attempt all questions. Internal choices will be provided in 3 questions of 4 marks each and 2 questions of 6 marks each. So I'll go into detail about this. So first, just see the syllabus, block syllabus. Section A, when I complete section A and I do section B and C, I'll do the question pattern for B and C also, but for the time being, we'll stick to section A. 80 marks. Now see, look at the first thing, relation and function. It's 12 marks. So in this, there are 3 chapters which you need to prepare. Number 1 is relation and function. Number 2 is binary operation, and number 3 is inverse trigonometry. So I'll just tell you the distribution of marks. So from function, you get sometimes 4 plus 2. That means 4 every time you get 1 question for 4 marks from function. But like every alternate year, you get 1 question for 2 marks from function or binary operation. That also we are going to discuss. And the remaining 6 question, 2 plus 4, will come from inverse. So that completes our 12 marks from relation and function. Moving on to the next topic, algebra. In algebra, we have determinant and matrices. Matrices you have already done in class 10. Matrices will carry 8 marks. The way in which the marks has been split is 2 plus 6. And determinant, it's 6. 2 plus 6. So matrix is total 8 and determinant is 6. So the total is 14. Now the third topic is calculus, and that is 40 marks. Today we are going to discuss calculus in detail, and that is the maximum marks you get from calculus, 40 marks. And finally, probability. There are various types and you are going to get probability for 14 marks. So this completes section A. Is that okay? Now see, once again, see the distribution of marks. 12 marks from relation and function, 14 marks from algebra, 40 marks from calculus, and 14 marks from probability. So let us move towards the question pattern. So before you see this table, I'll just explain the type of questions that you get from section A. So section A, as I told you, you're going to get 80 marks from section A. I have divided section A into 3 parts. This is short answer question, this is medium, and this is long answer question. Short answer question is going to be question number 1, that is going to be compulsory. You will get 10 questions and each question will carry 2 marks. 2 marks, so 10 into 2 equal to 20, and I'll tell you in detail what are the chapters that you are going to get from question 1. See, I've already made it. I'm going to explain that a little later. Now, let us go to medium. This is from question number 2 to question number 10. You have to do 9 questions and each question will carry 4 marks. So 9 into 4 is 36. The best part about this is you will get 3 internal choices. That means out of 9 questions, in 3 questions, there will be additional questions, supplementary or from where you can choose. Is that okay? So, and now last is the long answer question. From question number 11 to question number 15, from question number 11 to question number 15, you'll have to do 4 questions. I guess it's 14, huh? Yeah. 4 questions. Each question will carry 6 marks. So 6 into 4 equal to 24. So first part, short answer question. Second part, medium. And the third is long answer question. Short answer question for 20 marks. Medium is 36 and long answer question for 24. So the total is 80 marks. That's section A. Now, once you have understood the question pattern, let us discuss the chapters that you can expect from short answer, medium and long answer. Okay. As you can see the table, this is question number 1. You will get 10 questions of 2 marks each, 10 into 2. So, look at the table. These are the serial numbers, chapter and the year. That means in which year the question had come. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. Look at this. Question number 1, it's a binary operation. It's a chapter on binary operation, 2 marks. Yes, in 2020, you got a question on binary operation. But in 2019, you got a question on function. Didn't I tell you in the previous case? That means every simultaneous year you either get a binary operation or a function. And again in 2018, you got a question on binary operation. So you can easily predict. That means in 2021, the most probable out here is function. Is that okay? Next, look at the second part, inverse trigonometry. Inverse trigonometry 2020, you got a question for 2 marks. 2019 also, you got a question. 2018 also, and specimen paper also. That means you'll be rest assured that you are going to get 1 question on inverse trigonometry for 2 marks. So similarly, we move on to determinant. Yes, you are going to get 1 question. And what type? I'm going to explain that in detail when we do these chapters one after the other. Now moving on to the 4th topic, 4th chapter, it's going to be matrices. That is also going to come. 5th is derivative. Out here, please be careful out here. Derivative, in 2020, you got a question on derivative. But in 2019, you got a question on continuity. And 2018 also continuity. And in 2018 specimen paper, the question was definite integral. So what I want to advise you is, it's better you prepare questions on derivative, continuity and definite integral. But you will have an idea as to which chapter comes for how much marks. And the 6th chapter is increasing and decreasing function. You got a question into 2020. 19 also you got, but 18 you got approximation, and in specimen paper it was derivative. So because these are all applications of derivative, you will be doing it. I just wanted you to see that the pattern in which ISC gives the question. Now the 7th is definite integral, the same thing out here. In 2019 you got an integration, because these are what, this is definite integral, this is indefinite integral. Differential equation, instead of normally you will get a question on differential equation, but 2019 instead of differential equation you got a question on L'Hospital's theorem. So you'll be practicing this also, no problem. Okay, and probability, you are bound to get 2 questions on probability. So just have a look at question number 1. This is a short answer question. So if you are watching this video through YouTube, please pause for a moment and take the screenshot of it, because you'll be needing it. So I'll just wait. So moving on, now we come to the medium questions. That means question 2, from question number 2 to question number 10, you are going to get 9 questions of 4 marks each. That means 9 4 is 36, and there will be 3 internal choices. Out here also the pattern is more or less same. The second question which you get is function. This is for 4 marks. I'm talking about 4 marks. Is that clear? 2020, you got a question on function. 19, 18, as well as a specimen paper. So 20, 21, obviously you are going to get a question on function. So I'll be, as I have already told you, I'll be discussing each chapter type wise so that you exactly know which type had come in which year and which is the probable. So I'll just tell you, from function, you need to prepare 2 types. Type 1 is finding the inverse, and type 2 is compose of a function. So between these 2, you're bound to get 1. Moving on, inverse trigonometry. Yes, every year you get 1 question from inverse trigonometry. 2020, yes. 2019 also you got 1 question. 18 and 18 specimen paper also. Now determinant also, yes, that means every year you are bound to get 1 question on determinant. So this is how you are going to prepare for your examination. Because see, maths is such a vast topic. If you start solving each and every problem, then it's going to take a long time. So what I advise you all to do is understand the question pattern. For example, look at this function we saw for 4 marks, we saw the function for 2 marks. So your objective is to cover all the questions that can come for 2 and 4 marks. That's it. Similarly for inverse, you saw 2 questions, 1 for 2 marks, 1 for 4 marks. So total 6 marks. That way if you plan properly, then you'll have no problem. Now, this, the 4th question out here. Normally what used to happen was you used to get an internal choice out here. There was an internal choice between continuity, Rolle's theorem, continuity, LMVT and Rolle's theorem. That means you either could do Rolle's theorem and LMVT, or you could do continuity. Is that clear? 2019 also you got the same thing. 2018 also you got the same thing. Specimen paper. But 2020, instead of continuity, they gave L-Hospital's theorem. They gave L-Hospital's theorem. So keep that in mind. Now, the 5th question, that means second order derivative, no problem out here, because every year you get a question on second order derivative. Moving on, tangent and normal. Tangent and normal, so again, you get an internal choice out here. Normally the pattern was, you used to get 1 question on tangent and 1 question on rate of change. Is that clear? But in 2019, you got only rate of change. That means there was no tangent and normal. So 2020, it was sure that you are going to get tangent. You got that also. That's how you plan. That's how you predict. So you'll be confident once you understand the question pattern also. Moving on to integration, yes, every year you get a question on integration for 4 marks. There are various types. Partial fraction is there. Then we have integration by parts, substitution. Out of these 3, you are going to get 1. Now, differential equation, yes, every year you're going to get 1 question on differential equation for 4 marks. So differential equation was also there in the previous pattern. So differential equation also 2 plus 4 is 6. And last is probability. This is going to be question number 10, probability for 4 marks. Is that clear? So just I'm going to pause for a moment. If you are watching this video in YouTube, you just pause and take a screenshot of it. So the pattern will remain same. It's just that internal choices will be for question number this, Rolle's theorem and LMVT / continuity or differentiability, and they've included L-Hospital also. Next would be tangent and normal / rate of change, and next would be integration, 2 questions. Is that okay? Now moving on to the final part, that is long answer question. Now see, from question number 11 to question number 14, 4 questions of 6 marks each. So 4 into 6 is 24, and 2 internal choices will be given. 2 internal choices will be given. And out here, as you can see, the pattern has not changed. 2020 also same, 2019 also same, 2018 also, specimen paper also. Now see, it's just that internal choices has changed. Like for example, matrices, normally what used to happen was, you used to get an internal choice for matrix, Got it? Metrics and maxima and minima. From metrics, you used to get the Martin's rule or elementary row operation. Is that clear? But 20 and 19, you just got matrix method, no elementary row operation. Okay. Now, maxima and minima, you can 2019 and 2020 and 2019, you got an option. Internal choice. Integration also. Yes, integration also you'll get an option. Either definite integral or indefinite integral. And finally, probability. So these 4 chapters for 6 marks. So as I've already told you, that completes our section A, that is 20 marks. So I hope you have understood the question pattern properly. So before I move on to the next topic, let me revise the question pattern once again for you all, those who have missed. Please, this is very important. If you plan out, then mathematics is going to be very, very easy. You have to take one chapter at a time. You must know exactly which chapter comes for how much marks and in which question. Whether with that chapter you get an internal choice or no. What type of questions have come? We are going to discuss the type of questions in detail when I do each topic. I'm going to do type wise so that you understand clearly that certain, like let us say type 1 has come in 2020. So most probably type 2 is going to come in 2021. Is that clear? So let me round it off. Section A, mathematics, is 100 marks, no project. From next year, 2022, we are going to have project for maths. It's going to be 80 theory and 20 project. Now, as you can see, section A, 80 marks. Section A, 80 marks. Then we have short answer, medium and long answer. Short answer, you have to answer 10 questions. Medium, you have to answer 9 questions. And long answer, you have to answer 4 questions. So, in total, how many? 23 questions you have to answer for 80 marks. Because in that 3 hours time, if you haven't planned it, and if you just waste time in a particular problem, trust me, it becomes very difficult for you to complete the entire question. Okay, now, so as I told you, I'll be starting a topic today. So I've decided to start off with calculus, because calculus, as you know, carries the maximum marks, 40 marks from this. So if your base is strong, then you will have no problems getting 90 plus in ISC mathematics if you do this calculus properly. So let me start with calculus. Calculus has 2 parts. One is differentiation, or you call it derivative, and the other one is integration. Integration, there are definite integral and indefinite integral. In calculus also, there are applications of derivative, but first I'm going to explain differentiation only. Now look at the topics which you need to understand for derivative or differentiation. The first topic, differentiation of a standard function. I'm going to explain that in detail. What is a standard function? Next, differentiation of a composite function, or we also call it chain rule. Differentiation of implicit function. Differentiation of logarithmic function. Differentiation of parametric function, differentiation of a function with respect to another function, differentiation of inverse function, and finally second order derivative. So these are the things which you need to know on differentiation. There's one more, continuity and differentiability. Since the continuity and differentially, the idea was already given in class 11. So after I complete this, because we need more time on this, I'm going to just take 2 or 3 classes to complete that continuity and differentiability, because that's not a problem. It's just based on limits. Okay, so now let us start with the first topic, that is differentiation of a standard function. So look at this. In order to understand this, let us understand the meaning of an explicit function. What is an explicit function? See the definition. The definition says, if a variable y can be expressed in terms of x, that is y equal to fx, then we say that it is an explicit function, where this y which you see is called your dependent variable and this x is called your independent variable. So you might be wondering, why is this dependent and why this is independent? So I'll just give you a simple example. I'll give an equation of a straight line. This was taught in class 9. You have to plot this. How do you plot this? You make a table. Now take a random value of x. If x is 0, then y becomes 1. If x is 1, then y becomes 2. And similarly, if x is 3, then y becomes 4. So what can you see out here is the value of y depends on the value of x. That is why y is called dependent and x is called independent. So y is your dependent and x is your independent. So dy by dx also means the value, the rate at which y changes with respect to x. That is why we say dy by dx. So dy by dx is also called as a rate measurer. Y changes with respect to x. That's why we differentiate y with respect to x. So dy by dx. So I hope you understood the concept of dependent and independent variable. Now, okay. Now the second is, as you understood that the differentiation means y changes with respect to x. So dy by dx. The expression part is in the book. You can just go through it. That is not a problem. Our main focus is on the questions we need to solve for ISC examinations. Okay. So y changes with respect to x. So dy by dx. So next, what I wanted to explain is, look at this. Okay, standard function. Now dy by dx, we differentiate y with respect to x. That is why dy by dx. Suppose, look at this. First property is d by dx. We are differentiating, we are calculating the change. Suppose c into fx. So where c is a constant, then according to the property of derivative, I'm just explaining the same property, the constant comes in front and you simply have to differentiate the function. I can give you an example. So d by dx of, just give me a constant, let us say 5, and a function, let us say sine x. So if someone tells you to differentiate this, so using property number 1, see, I have already given the formulas in class 11, we have already done it. So I'll just write down the form, I'll just show you the formula also. Okay, fine. So see, 5 is a constant, so using this property, 5 comes out, and sine x. So what's the differentiation of sine x? It is cos x. So before you differentiate means making the function small. You have to apply the property. So this is the first property. Now the second property is simple. Second property says, whenever there are two functions, and in between there's a plus or minus sign, you simply have to differentiate them individually. Again, one example for you all to understand. D by dx of, let us say, e to the power x plus log x. I have to differentiate this. So differentiation of e to the power x, there's a plus sign, again differentiation of log x. So what's the differentiation of e to the power x? What's the differentiation of e to the power x? What's the differentiation of e to the power x? It is e to the power x. So please make sure you copy the formulas. You have to memorize it. And what's the differentiation of log x? It is 1 by x. So this is property number 2. Okay, if you want to just copy this, you just pause it and take a screenshot of it. Now let us move on to the third property. Third property, whenever you have to differentiate two functions which are being multiplied with each other, u into v, this is also called product rule. What is it called? Product rule. Product rule says you cannot apply the formula directly. So what we need to do is, you keep u constant, differentiate v. Now you keep v constant and then you differentiate u. So it's like differentiating one after the other but not together. So I can give you one example. Example 3. D by dx of, let us say, x cube into log x. I have to differentiate this, x cube into log x. So we are going to use product rule out here. So since there are two functions being multiplied, this becomes u and this becomes v. So product rule, what does product rule say? U d by dx of v plus v d by dx of u. What is u? U is x cube d by dx of what is v? Log x, plus what is v? Log x into d by dx of what is u? X cube. Now this is the property. Now when you apply the formula, you just have to apply formula for one function at a time. Now x cube remains as it is because we are treating this as a constant. What's the differential of log x? It is 1 by x, plus log x remains constant, and what's the differentiation of x cube? Formula number 1, d by dx of x to the power n. Whenever the power is a constant, the power comes in front and you subtract 1 from the power. So the three constant terms comes in front, x to the power 3 minus 1 is 2. So you can simplify this, x cube and x gets cancelled, so x square plus log x dot 3x square. In fact, you can take x square common, so 1 plus 3 log x. So this is your final answer. So once again, what are we doing? Differentiation means we are making the function small, simplifying it. Is that clear? So I'll just, in this, when I just explain the definition of differentiation, I'll just give an example. Suppose y equal to x square plus 2. It's a quadratic equation, as you can see, x square, isn't it? Now when you differentiate this, so what do you get? Dy by dx. What's the differential of x square? The 2 comes in front, so 2x. It has become linear. That means differentiation means we are breaking down into smaller parts. Now the last property of derivative is left. Last property of derivative is left. Last property of derivative is left. Whenever you have to differentiate a function of this type, that means u by v, please keep in mind u and v are both functions of x. That means there's a division sign. So this is called quotient rule, Q-U-O-T-I-E-N-T, quotient rule. So what quotient rule says is same like product rule, it's just that the denominator comes first. V as it is, differentiate u, but there'll be a minus sign, u d by dx of v. Okay, those who did not understand this, again look at this. Okay, we are differentiating one function at a time. V constant, u differentiation. Now u constant, v differentiation divided by v square. So this is called a quotient rule. Let us apply this property to do one problem. Example number 4. Let us say you have to differentiate 1 plus x divided by 1 minus x. So see, this is your u and this is your v. What does the formula say? V d by dx of u minus u d by dx of v divided by 1 minus divided by v square. Now just put in the value. What is v? V 1 minus x d by dx of what is u? 1 plus x minus what is u? 1 plus x d by dx of what is v? 1 minus x. Divide the whole thing by 1 minus x whole square. So as you can see, I have just put the value of u and v. Now let me complete this by applying the formula. 1 minus x is a constant, so it remains as it is. Now see, differentiation of 1. As you can see, differentiation of a constant is 0. So differentiation of 1 is 0 plus differentiation of x. Differentiation of x is 1. Differentiation of x is 1 minus, again this is a constant. This is a constant, 1 plus x. So 1 plus x as it is. Differentiation of 1 is 0 minus differentiation of x is 1. Divide the whole thing by 1 minus x whole square. Now let me simplify this. 1 minus x, 0 plus 1 is 1, 0 minus 1 is minus 1, minus into minus, plus 1 plus x divided by 1 minus x whole square. So plus x and minus x gets cancelled. 1 plus 1 is 2 divided by 1 minus x whole square. So these are the 4 properties which is very important when we solve problems on differentiation or derivative. So let me revise the properties once again. Number one, we always differentiate with respect to x because x is the independent variable. So once again, can you tell me what does dy by dx mean? The rate at which y is changing with respect to x. That's why y is called dependent and x is called independent. So the first property which you learned is whenever there is a function and a constant, the constant comes in front. The constant comes in front. Yeah, the constant comes in front. Next, product rule. Whenever there are two functions being multiplied with each other, u into v, then we have to use product rule. What is the rule again? U d by dx of v plus v d by dx of u. That means you keep u constant, differentiate v, then you keep v constant and you differentiate u. Now the last property is quotient rule. Whenever there is a division sign, we have to use this quotient rule. The quotient rule says the denominator first, that means v d by dx of u minus u d by dx of v, divide the whole thing by v square. Divide the whole thing by v square. I have given examples for each of the properties, and the next thing is the formulas are very important. So as you can see out here, there are five formulas. These formulas are formulas on algebraic, exponential and log. Since the formulas are not visible, I'm going to write it down. So the first formula is d by dx of x to the power n. So whenever the base is an algebraic function, x square, x cube, x to the power 4, anything, the power comes in front and you just subtract 1 from the power. Is that clear? What I observed is most of the students are being able to apply this formula, but whenever x is in the denominator, they have a problem. Like for instance, if I tell you, can you differentiate, what is the differentiation of x cube? Then they get stuck because they have not seen this formula. So what you need to do is, since the base is x, I just need to take x up, isn't it? So d by dx of x goes up, so becomes positive, becomes negative. So use this formula. What happened to the power? The power comes in front and you subtract 1 from the power. So your answer is minus 3 by x to the power 4. So please, whenever the base is x and the power is a constant, this is the first formula which you are going to use. The second formula, d by dx of e to the power x, exponential, it's e to the power x only. D by dx of e to the power mx equal to, if m is a constant, the constant comes in front, m dot e to the power mx. The third formula, d by dx of a to the power x, it's a to the power x log a, and d by dx of a to the power mx is going to be m dot a to the power mx into log a. So please see the difference between these three formulas. Formula number 1, the base is algebraic, x. Formula number 2, the base is e, exponential. And formula number 3, the base is a constant. The base is a constant. A is a constant out here. And out here, log, so it's going to be a natural log, so you need not write e. So the fourth formula is d by d differentiation of log x. Differentiation of log x is 1 by x. And the fifth formula is d by dx of a constant is always 0. So these are the 5 formulas which you need to know, just 5 formulas to solve problems on algebraic, exponential and log. Okay, now let me give few particular cases. Number 1, differentiation of x will always be 1. You don't have to apply the formula, you just memorize it. How is differentiation of x 1? Because see, x means the power is 1. So whenever the base is x and the power is a constant, we use formula number 1. What does formula number 1 say? The constant comes in front and you subtract 1 from the power. So the constant is 1. So 1 comes in front. X to the power 1 minus 1. So 1. Anything raised to the power 0 is 1. So with that concept, differentiation of x is 1. Similarly, d by dx of 1 by x equal to minus 1 by x square, and number 3, d by dx of root x is 1 by 2 root x. I've used the same concept because see, the reason why I've given this as particular cases is these 3 functions are the most repeated ones: differentiation of x, differentiation of 1 by x, and differentiation of root x. So these are the 5 formulas and 3 particular cases. And the last set of formulas which you need to know is formula on trigonometric function. So as you can see in my slide, differentiation of sine x is cos x, and the formula just beside that, sine mx, the formula is same, it's just that the constant term which you see out here comes in front. So you get m dot cos mx. Look at the next formula, differentiation of cos x. Cos x is minus sine x. Differentiation of tan x is sec square x. Differentiation of cot x is minus cos x square x. And differentiation of sec x is sec x tan x. And finally, differentiation of cosec x is minus cosec x cot x. So, understanding the concept is not a problem. If you know the formulas, you can easily do it. So just keep in mind few things. Number 1, the moment you see a question, it's going to be an explicit function. Explicit function means y is expressed in terms of x. That means left hand side you see y, right hand side you see x in terms. Is that clear? Differentiation means y is changing with respect to x. So that's called dy by dx. Next, the properties. The properties are very important. If there's a multiplication sign, you cannot apply the formula. First, you have to apply property. If there's a division sign, you cannot apply the formula directly. You have to use the property. Once you apply the property, then you will be able to apply the formulas which I have already given. So please make it a point that there are just 11 formulas in total, plus the 3 particular cases. Please copy these formulas and go through it. If you memorize, please, what I suggest you all do is the faster you memorize, the faster you will understand differentiation. Is that clear? So hopefully the first class on derivative, this is the first class on derivative, the formulas. So next class I'll be solving problems on derivative. So we start with the standard function. Again, I just wanted to explain the meaning of standard function. Standard function means all the functions which has formula. Like, what's the differential of sine x? Sine x, it's a standard function. Why? Differential of sine x is cos x. But if I say, what's the differential of sine to the power 5x? There's no formula, so this is called composite function. I'll teach you how to differentiate that also. Don't worry. So next class we are going to solve some more problems on standard function, and then I'm gonna move to composite function. So thank you so much.
Welcome back, children. Yesterday we had done the first of the untouched poems in ISC, that was the Dolphins. Today we will move on to the second untouched poem in ISC, Desiderata. Now the first thing you will have to understand in this poem is the meaning of the word desiderata. It's a Latin word which means desired things. Now, what are the things which are so desirable? If you have to understand what are the desired things, then you will have to first understand what kind of a poem is desiderata. So we move on to the kind or the type of poem that is desiderata. This poem is a didactic poem. Now the question arises, what is a didactic poem? A didactic poem gives us instructions, information, suggestions, advices, and teaches us a truth, a moral lesson, or a principle. You must understand that a didactic poem is a poem which gives us a series of instructions, information, advices, suggestions, maxims in order to drive home a point which the poet wants to highlight through the poem. This poem gives us a series of advices that we need to imbibe, inculcate, follow, practice, and be successful in our lives. That means this poem gives us, stanza-wise, several advices, suggestions, instructions, information. These we need to understand, assimilate, imbibe, inculcate, follow in our lives in order to make our lives meaningful, successful, happy, joyful, and obviously the journey of life should be a pleasure for us if we follow these instructions. This poem explores the way to a satisfied, contented life. If we follow these instructions, our life will become happy, satisfactory, and contented. The poem focuses on the idea that we should see the world with both its joys and troubles, hopes and disillusions, with equanimity, for after all, the world is beautiful and filled with goodness. Remember, life is not a bed of roses. It's filled with thorns. Life has hardships, difficulties, problems, defeats, failures, hurdles, misunderstandings, boredom, monotony. But despite all these, we will have to try and extract happiness and satisfaction from our life's journey. Because after all, we should remember this world is a beautiful place to live in. It's filled with goodness. So if we look at the positive sides of life on earth, if we can take out and extract the positives out of our life on earth, it will help us to positive thinking. And positive thinking will always make us hopeful and optimistic in our life rather than be filled with failures, frustrations, and hopelessness. The poem inspires positive thinking and positivity in us. As I was telling you, if we always look at the good sides of life on earth, and if we take the negativities in our stride, we will be able to always think positively, and we will always remain hopeful and optimistic in our lives. No failures, no defeats, no troubles, problems, or hardships can ever deter us from what we are doing or from what we are supposed to do. And most importantly, we will remain focused in the goals, dreams, ambitions, and aims in our life. With these words, we will now move on to the poem, which is a series of advices, instructions, and suggestions as to lead a positive life, a happy life, a contented life, a fruitful, meaningful life. Now we move on to the opening stanza of the poem. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. Please note, my dear children, we are all surrounded by noise, chaos, confusion. We have so many unnecessary and unwanted discussions going on around us. The first instruction by the poet is that we should stay away. we should insulate ourselves from these chaos, confusions, and unnecessary debates and discussions surrounding us. If we get involved in them, it will be a wastage of our time and energy. It will spoil the peace of our mind. It will not give us the opportunity to utilize our time effectively, and therefore the result will never be positive. So we need to stay away from these noise, confusion, and chaos. We should maintain our peace of mind, and we should silently focus on what we are supposed to do. And with focus and concentration, we will be able to come out successful in what we are trying to do. That was advice number 1. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Advice number 2 is, always try to maintain good relations with everybody around you. Be in good terms with one and all. But while maintaining good relation with everybody, don't ever surrender your ideas, your ideals, your values, your principles. Stick to what you believe in. Don't compromise with these values and principles just to win the friendship of somebody. Speak your truth quietly and clearly. Obviously, the next advice is that we should learn to speak the truth. But the point is, when we speak the truth, we should always speak it confidently and clearly. There should be no ambiguity in what we are saying, because if there is ambiguity, there will be doubts and suspicions in the minds of others. So we should speak the truth clearly, confidently, unhesitantly, and we should be able to drive into the minds and heads of others what we are trying to say or convey. And listen to others, even to the dull and ignorant. They too have their story. Remember, in this world, everybody is not intelligent and everybody is not well informed. There might be people whom you deem to be foolish, stupid, not very knowledgeable, and therefore we all try to ignore these people. We don't listen to what they want to say just because we feel they will talk something foolish, they will talk something stupid. We are all good speakers, talkers, but we are not good listeners. The poet is advising that in this world, there are people who may be stupid and foolish. They may not be very knowledgeable. They may not be very informative. But our duty and job is to listen even to such people who may not be as intelligent and informative as others. It is our moral responsibility to listen to everybody. Now we move on to the second stanza. Avoid loud and aggressive people. They are vexatious to the spirit. Loud and aggressive people basically refer to violent, offensive people. Such violent, offensive, harmful people are very annoying and troublesome. They can cause harm. They can spoil the peace of our mind. So the next advice is, avoid such aggressive, violent, offensive people because they can cause annoyance, they can cause anger in us, they can be troublesome for us, and most importantly, they can cause harm and spoil the peace of our mind. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter. Just as all the 5 fingers are not the same, all the people in the world are not the same. Each individual is unique. Each individual has some individuality and uniqueness in himself or herself. So, in our life, we should stop comparing ourselves with others. The reason is, no 2 persons in the world are the same. So the point is, if I am better than the person I am comparing myself to, because I am better, I will become vain, proud. I will suffer from superiority complex. Again, if I compare myself with somebody and that somebody is better than I am, what will happen is I will suffer from bitterness, sadness, negativity, inferiority complex. So we should stop comparing ourselves with others so that such complexes do not harm us. For always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Remember, somebody might be better than you are, meaning greater. Somebody may not be as good as you are, meaning lesser. So when you compare yourself to somebody who is very good, you suffer from inferiority complex. If somebody is not as good as you are, you suffer from superiority complex. So avoid comparisons with others. And the last point in this stanza is, enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Now remember, the word plans in the poem, it means goals and ambitions and aims and dreams in your life. Always set a goal in your life. Always set an ambition in your life. Always set an aim and have a dream in your life. Work hard to achieve that aim, goal, ambition, or dream. And when you achieve that goal, when you achieve that ambition or dream, celebrate it, enjoy it, because success in life will never come always. And when it comes, it gives us a reason to enjoy and celebrate. But in order to be successful in your aim and ambition, 2 things are very necessary: planning, having a goal, and most importantly, working hard to achieve it. Now we move to the 3rd stanza. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It's a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Remember, you might be involved in doing something that is very humble and ordinary. But whatever you are doing is important for you. Devote everything you have to doing what you are doing, however ordinary and humble it is. Remember, if you are doing a job, stick to that job. There is nothing more precious and priceless, because that job gives you security in life. Yes, you may not be in a very good post or position. Your work in the eyes of the society might be very ordinary, but stick to it, respect it, be devoted to it, because it will provide you with security in your life. It's a real possession. It's priceless, because life is a series of changing fortunes. Your fate, your destiny can change any time. Therefore, be happy, be satisfied, be devoted and dedicated to the work or the job that you already have. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. If you are a businessman, always be careful, because in this world there are plenty of cheats. You can be deceived, you can be tricked, you can be cheated any moment by anybody. But that doesn't mean that everybody in this world except you is a cheat. Don't ever take it for granted that everybody is a cheat. Yes, there are cheats, there are deceiving people, but you must not generalize and feel that everybody is a cheat and everybody is a deceiver. That is what the poet is warning. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. You should not be blind. You should not be ignoring the high good qualities that there are in others. Other people also have good qualities. They follow principles and ideals in life. They always strive and try to follow these ideals and principles to lead a very honest life. Therefore, you should not take it for granted that everybody in this world is just a cheat. Remember, everywhere life is full of heroism. People always carry out heroic deeds. Actions are heroic. We should learn to appreciate those heroic deeds and actions. We should always be very positive towards people who follow ideals, who have principles in life, who do everything possible for himself, his family, and the society to make this world a better place. So therefore, my dear students, the poet is telling us that we should not generalize and take it for granted that everybody is a cheat and a deceiver and a trickster. Now we move on to stanza 4. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection. Be yourself means don't pretend. Don't be a hypocrite. Always behave the way you are. Do not ever feign or pretend love. Affection means love. Don't pretend to love. Love wholeheartedly. Show what you are, not a hypocrite. Neither be cynical about love. The point is, supposing I did not get love in my life. Supposing I was jilted in love by my girlfriend. What happens? I will tend to believe that love does not exist in this world. Nobody can love me. Don't have this cynical, negative view about love. Love exists. Time will come when you will get it. You may not have got it till now, but you are surely to get it from somebody, somewhere. So don't ever think that love doesn't exist in this world just because you did not get an opportunity to have it. For in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Here, the poet is using a simile, a comparison, as perennial as the grass. Let me tell you, wherever you go, in any corner of the earth, you will find grass growing. It is ever present. It is found everywhere. Just as grass is perennial, permanent, and found everywhere, in every nook and corner of the world, similarly, love also is perennial. It is ever present. It is found everywhere in this world. This world may look to be a dry place. The world may look to be a place without love. The world may be filled with defeats and failures and disillusionments and frustrations, but remember, despite all these negativities, there is love, because love is omnipresent. It is present everywhere in every nook and corner of the world. Now we move on to stanza 5. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. The point is, we will all have to grow old. It's a natural phenomenon. You cannot avoid it. You cannot reverse the process. So a young man will become old. Try and learn to accept this process of aging. The point is, when you are young, whatever qualities you have, those qualities may not be necessary for you as you are growing old. Because with age, you gain wisdom and experience. So give up whatever you had done and practiced during your young days and replace it or them with your wisdom and experience. Remember, we cannot continue with the same set of qualities that we have throughout our lives. We also need to change with time. We also need to grow as we grow old. And that growth comes through our wisdom, knowledge, experience. Change yourself and learn in the process and accept those changes. It is inevitable. It is unavoidable. It's a natural happening beyond your control. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. We should always develop moral courage, inner courage to face any accidents in life. Accidents do happen. Accidents will happen. But we should not break down. We should not be heartbroken and helpless when such a misfortune takes place. If we are inwardly strong, if we have moral strength in our hearts and minds, we will be able to overcome these accidents and misfortunes in our lives. From our young age, we need to develop that strength, that inner strength to accept, face, and overcome any misfortunes and accidents in our lives. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Another thing, I told you about positive thinking. Always think positive. Always make positivity the mantra in your life. Don't allow your mind to be filled and bogged down with dark imaginings. Dark imaginings mean negative thoughts. Always remain positive. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. As I told you in the beginning, this poem is about positive thinking, positivity. So never allow negative thoughts ever to come to your mind. Dark imaginings mean negative thoughts, because that will distress you, sadden you, make you sorrowful, make you frustrated, and you will lose your focus in what you are doing. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. According to the poet, our mind is filled with fear only when we are very, very tired or when we are very, very lonely. Therefore, always try to avoid tiredness and always try to avoid the loneliness. You can avoid tiredness by never overdoing or never overworking or never overstressing yourself. And you can avoid loneliness, as has been said in the first stanza of the poem, by maintaining good relations with everybody. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You know, always lead a disciplined life. But you should not overburden yourself with too much of rigid discipline. It can have the opposite effect. Maintain discipline in life, but always be gentle to yourself. Discipline is good, but overdoing it is bad. You will suffer from stress. You will suffer from oppression and depression if you are very, very strict and regimentalized in your day-to-day life. Now we move on to the next, or the sixth stanza. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be there. The point is, never consider yourself as unwanted in this world. Never consider yourself to be a burden to this world. If the trees and the stars have the right to be in this world, then you also have the right to be in this world. If trees and stars have been given a responsibility to be in this world, you are also carrying some responsibility on your shoulder. You have been sent here by God for a reason, with a mission. Never consider yourself to be a burden, as somebody unwanted in this world. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Try to understand. Sometimes things happened around us which we do not like. But we may not like what is happening around us. That does not mean we will hate and dislike what is happening. Remember, whatever is happening around us, I may not like it, but whatever is happening for a good reason, for a good cause. It may not directly affect me positively, but from whatever is happening around us, many other people might benefit. I may not benefit, but other people may benefit. So just don't criticize something that is happening around you just because you don't like it or it is not affecting you in a positive way. Remember, whatever happens in this world happens for a good reason, for a good cause. There is a method in this madness. Whatever happens will have some positive impact on other people. It may not be you. Now we move on to stanza 7, where the tone of the poem changes and becomes religious. Therefore be at peace with God. Always have faith and trust in God. Whatever you conceive Him to be, you may call God by different names. You may have different pictures about God because you follow different religions. In whichever way you worship God, in whichever name you call God, always have faith and trust in the Almighty. And whatever your labors and aspirations, in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. Again, certain ideas are repeated. Look at the word aspiration. Aspiration means ambitions, dreams. Labor means hard work. The point is, always set a dream and a goal in life and work hard to achieve that dream, goal, or ambition. And what had been said in the first stanza, there is noise around you, there is confusion around you, there is chaos around you, there is unnecessary debate and discussions around you. Ignore them, insulate yourself, don't participate in them. Keep your mind at peace, remain quiet and silent, and focus on what you have set out to achieve in life. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy. I told you in the beginning, life is not a bed of roses. It is filled with thorns. Remember, there are plenty of negativities in life. As I told you, troubles, problems, hardships, hurdles, defeats, failures, unsuccesses, boredom, monotony, repetitiveness. These are all part and parcel of life. So, life is filled with sham, pretense, falsehood. Life is a drudgery. It is a struggle. It is filled with hardships and trouble. It is boring. It is repetitive. And life is filled with broken dreams. We all have ambitions, but all the ambitions are never fulfilled. Only a few might be fulfilled. So there are negatives while we live in this world. But remember one thing, that always be happy and cheerful and try to be happy because this world is beautiful. We have come to this world, and if we only focus on the positive sides of life, we will always be hopeful and optimistic in life. We will be able to focus and concentrate on what we are trying to do. And with focus and concentration, with a positive attitude and mind, we will always be successful in achieving what we are trying to do. That is why I have concluded the poem saying, in the world today, life is not a bed of roses. It is filled with thorns. Survival is a battle. Our day-to-day life is a struggle. Life is filled with constant stress and anxiety. And yet, if we think and act positively, follow the maxims, the instructions, the suggestions, the advices given in the poem, if we follow them in our life on earth, then life will be worth living and enjoyable in this world. So, if you look at the theme of this poem, there is no separate theme. The entire poem, with each and every word and line, is bringing out the theme of the poem. And the theme is all the maxims, advices, instructions, suggestions given in the poem. What we should do, what we should avoid, how we should cope with the negativities in life, how our journey of life should be, where we should always remain optimistic and hopeful. We should always be religious with our faith and trust in God. We should do this, we should avoid that. If we are able to follow these maxims as prescribed by the poet in this poem, in toto, life on earth will no longer be a burden. We will not be tired of our life on earth. We will not be frustrated with our life on earth. We will never be pessimistic in our attitude to life. Rather, we will look at life with hope, positivity, and these two will help us to a happy, satisfied, contented, fruitful, meaningful, useful, and enjoyable life on earth. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. First of all, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Dipankar Prakash Rai, Faculty of Pol Science, Dr. Graham's Homes. Well, this is just an initiative from the teaching fraternity of Kalimpong, the Anglo-Indian schools and the listed schools, and just hoping that it may be of little help to our children of the hills. So I just hope that our classes would be helpful for you all. So with that note, I'd like to start here. And of course, this pandemic, I just hope that during the phase of lockdown, all of you have been taking every positive way. The time you've been spending is, well, in a good way, all right? So anyway, without much ado, I'd like to at least briefly introduce to you all about the syllabus of political science. So, syllabus. First of all, if you look at the syllabus, you can see here, there shall be 2 papers, all right? Paper 1, which is going to be of 3 hours, and that's going to be of 80 marks, and paper 2, project work, 20 marks. Well, as far as project is concerned, you see your 20 marks. I'm quite sure every school or all the teachers of a school have provided you with project work. And you all have been spending good time to make a good one, right? So first of all, 20 marks project. Every school, they have different projects. So I just hope that you all have been doing good. Well, let's come to the theory portion here. Okay. In theory, if you look at it, firstly, part 1, you're going to have it for 20 marks. It's compulsory short answers. Let me just tell you, there shall be 10 questions and it is compulsory. All right? And every question shall fetch you 2 marks. And it's basically done primarily to test your knowledge, the fundamental aspects of the entire syllabus. So children, when we have the classes, make sure you try to understand every bit of what we do. All right? Okay. And part 2. Please have a look over here. Part 2 is going to be of 60 marks. And it shall be divided into 2 sections, Section A and Section B. Section A, you'll have 5 questions, right? In Section A, you shall be having 5 questions, and out of 5, you will be doing 3. So you have it here. In Section A, out of 5, you shall be doing 3 questions. And in Section B, you'll be having, see here, 3 questions, and you'll be doing 2. So as in total, taking 3 from Section A and 2 from Section B, you shall be doing 5 questions, and 5 questions will fetch you 60 marks. 5 into 12. Every question shall have 2 parts, 6 marks each. All right? So 60 in part 2, 20 in part 1. That makes it 80. 80 marks as in theory, and 20 marks as in project. So if I would like to tell you over here, please children, pol science can be very scoring provided you understand every topics properly. All right? And we are here to help you. Now let's children have a brief outlook of the topics that we shall be doing as in political science, just overview, right? Okay, this is how we go. In Section A, the first portion, we shall be having Constitution and the government. And in that, the first chapter revolves around the forms of the government, the totalitarian, authoritarian states, followed by unitarian federal states, which I hope most of the schools have done so far. Okay? And parliamentary and presidential states, or parliamentary and presidential form of government, which primarily I'm going to start with you all today. Okay, the next is followed by Constitution, thereafter franchise and representation, the Legislature, Executive, and the Judiciary. We will be doing all of these things in detail, of course, slowly. In Section B, we have Indian democracy. Living in India, the world's largest democracy. It's so important, children, that we'll have to know about these things. You have to make sure that you learn these things well. It revolves around the Indian Constitution, fundamental rights and the directive principles of the state policy. Thereafter, we have the local self-government. And, of course, the democracy in India, okay, a perspective of the challenges faced. Well, these are some of the major challenges, okay? You can see here the problems of the caste, communalism, regionalism, political violence. These are some of the menaces that we all have been facing in our country, right? Despite the fact, independence way back in 1947, this is 2020. And you can understand how we have grown so far. And these are the problems which has been a major hurdle in our growth. However, we'll try to combat these problems, and we shall be learning in this last chapter. Well, these are the things that we have in our syllabus, okay? Not to worry, we are here to help you all, and we shall be starting with the parliamentary and presidential form of government as in pol science. If there is any issues about the first 2 chapters or the 3 chapters you talk about totalitarian, authoritarian and the liberal democracy, unitary, and the federal states. I'm here to help you all. Please send me your feedback. And as far as the chapters are concerned, today I'd like to start with the very first part, that is about the forms of the government. And in the forms of the government, I'd like to start with this chapter, that is the parliamentary and presidential forms of government, right? Well, children, I'm sure all of you have done about the totalitarian, the authoritarian, and the liberal democratic state. That falls into the first two chapters, all right? You all may have done it. If not, please send in the feedback. I'll definitely come back to it again, all right? So today I'm going to start with the parliamentary and presidential forms of government. Well, first of all, living in India, I'm sure all of you can very well tell me what is Indian government like. Is it a parliamentary or presidential? Give it a good thought. I'm sure all of you would say it's a parliamentary form of government, right? So India has a parliamentary form of government, and we have taken this from none other than UK. All of you are aware of the fact we were under the British for years, and eventually we adopted this parliamentary form of government here in India, right? And when we talk about the presidential form of government, the best example I can always talk about is United States of America, the Republic, right? Okay, so let's begin with the parliamentary and presidential form of government. So parliamentary form of government, the meaning. If you look at the meaning of parliamentary form of government, the first and foremost thing, you simply understand few things, the basics. Well, just to add to this, children, please make sure all of you try to understand. We learn for life and not for school. That should be your primary motto, all right? So it should be for your life and not for school. So try to understand every basics of anything that we do, be it in school or even right now. Okay, so that's very important. So let's begin here, the meaning of the parliamentary form of government. Firstly, in a parliamentary form of government, what happens is we basically have two heads. We call them to be as the real and the nominal head. Right? Two heads, the real and nominal. Right? And if you look at India, if you talk about the nominal head, or you talk about UK, we have the nominal head. Give it a thought. I'm sure all of you would agree and say, in India, the nominal head is the president. And if you talk about UK, it's the crown. At present, we still have the Queen. And I'm sure you all know the name of the Queen. Right? Queen Elizabeth II. And the real head is the Prime Minister, of course, along with the Council of Ministers. That's the first thing. Right? And another thing, in a parliamentary form of government, very important, which you have to look into account is this. There's a very close relationship between the executive and the legislature. Right? Executive and the legislature. I'm going to explain to you all in detail every aspect of this right now. So this is parliamentary form of government. Right? So let's look into the very, very important features of parliamentary form of government. So here we go. If you look at the salient features, children, well, I don't know, you may be having about 10 to 11 points here. Okay, I'm going to explain to you all each and every point in order. You're expected to know these things. But as far as examinations are concerned, think about your board's exam, right? That point in time, maximum you know 6, that's going to be perfectly all right as far as the examination. So this is how it goes by, the salient features. You can see here difference between nominal and the real executive. The structure of the executive involves the wheels within wheels, and it goes on this way. We shall deal one at a time. I hope all of you are getting it. Okay, the first thing, the difference between nominal and real executive. Allow me, let me write here. Okay, this is the first point here. Okay, the very important feature, the difference between nominal and real executive. So in a parliamentary form of government, we have the real and nominal, right? Okay. All right. So now the real executive head is always the Prime Minister. Look at India, we have Prime Minister. Okay, living in Kalimpong, district of Kalimpong, in Bengal, as a state, and living in India. I'm sure all of you agree with me, whom do we see most of the time as in TV? Is it the Prime Minister or the President? Give it a thought. If I may ask many of you over here, you may give it a thought if I may ask you who is the President of India. However, Prime Minister, all of us should be knowing, Modi, right? PM Narendra Modi. Well, so is the real executive, it's always the Prime Minister as in a parliamentary form of government, and the nominal is, as I said to you all, we have the President, or I said to you all, Crown. And when I say crown, it could either be the king or the queen. Right? Okay, I hope it's all right. So the real executive is the Prime Minister, who is always active, more powerful. The President is mostly the titular executive head, and it's the President, or we call it to be as crown. So, well, just to know, let me just try to make this thing clear to you all. Why either the President or the crown? Look here. Since India is republic, let me write here R for republic. Okay? Since India is republic, we have the president as the head of the state. And crown, that is primarily what we have in democracy, that we have in monarchy. Okay? So let me write here M for monarchy. Okay, so when we say this, republic, if you have to define republic, it goes on these lines. Okay? Republic means, or it stands for, where the head of the state is elected for a fixed tenure. Head of the state is elected for a fixed tenure. So in India, the head of the state is the president, of course, but he's elected for a fixed tenure. He's elected for 5 years. On the other hand, if you talk about the crown, let's go to UK. The crown, the king or the queen, at present we have queen, which I've already said to you all, it's hereditary. There's nothing so-called fixed tenure for the crown. So anyway, let's not go very far. First and foremost thing, the very simple point you look into is this, difference between nominal and real executive. That is what we have in a parliamentary form of government. I hope it's okay. So we move on to the next point. All right. Close and continuous relationship between legislature and executive. Let's look into this point, children. Close and continuous relationship between legislature and executive. This is often what I do as in school. I hope it applies to you as well. This is what I do. L for legislature, E for executive. I'm sure being in class 12, all of us know the three organs of the government, the legislature, executive, and the judiciary. Okay? The three very important organs, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Legislature make laws, executives will execute or implement, and judiciary adjudicate. Right? So having said that, first look here. This is what I've made. Legislature, L for legislature, E inside the circle, that is executive. Look here. Sometimes, as in pol science, I would say you may have to learn a little bit of maybe Kung Fu. Look at me, please. Imagine this is executive, the punch that I'm making. And this is legislature, right? The palm that I'm showing is legislature. So what happens in a parliamentary form of government is executive is always part of the legislature. This is what we have as in a parliamentary form of government. Again, executive, legislature. Executive is always part of the legislature. So there is always a close and continuous relationship between legislature and executive. So when I say this, you can see here, I've made the circle as legislature and executive within the legislature. This is it. So now, imagine legislature. Let me write here Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha, as in India, is a legislative body, a legislature, one of, or rather the lower house of the Union Parliament of India. Lok Sabha, it's a legislature. And when I say executive, I hope all of you would understand this. The Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers, the elected representatives, they're all part of Lok Sabha. I hope we're getting it, all right? So executive, when I say this, let me write here, I hope you all can see this, Prime Minister plus entire Council of Ministers. You know, they are the elected representatives and they are the executives. And to be more precise, please keep a note, they are also known as the political executives because they are the elected representatives. So in a parliamentary form of government, there is close and continuous relationship between the legislature and the executive. So now, if you look at it in Indian context, Lok Sabha is the legislature, executive, that is Prime Minister, and the Council of Ministers are all part of the executive. I hope that's all right, children. I hope we can proceed to another point here. Okay. Ministerial responsibility. Look at it, ministerial responsibility. Right? So what could be the responsibility of the ministers now? It's very, very simple. I've put these 3 points down. This is as simple as this. You have to know it. Responsibility towards the head of the state. If I may ask you, who is the real head? By now, all of you would say is the Prime Minister in India. Right? And who is the normal head? The President. Right? So in UK, who is the normal head? Is the Crown, because they have monarchy or limited monarchy. So now, what is the responsibility towards the head of the state? Well, the first thing, the responsibility of the head of the towards the head of the state would be this. The Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers would always be advising the head of the state. So children, have a look over here. President is the head of the state in India. So what does Prime Minister do would be, Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers would always be advising the head of the state, that is the President. All right? And President, all of you are aware of the fact the President shall always work on the advice of the Prime Minister. So I hope that's all right, the first point. First thing, whenever you write in the examination, it would be as simple as this. What would you write is, the Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers would always be advising the head of the state. That is President in India, and in UK would be the Crown. So first point is this. Second, individual responsibility. Again, individual responsibility. Look at this. Imagine you children, all right? You all are elected representatives. One of you, X, Y, Z, or so to say, Ajay, Vijay, whatever, right? Imagine yourselves, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, imagine you all are elected representatives of this country. You all are the members of Lok Sabha, all right? Imagine yourselves. And imagine you are the finance minister of this country. Okay. All right, other person, imagine yourself as a defense minister. Other person, imagine yourself as an agricultural minister. Well, if ever, your department or your ministry does not work well, for instance, the finance, right? If the finance department doesn't work well in the country, if our finance goes into complete crisis, our country is in a dire strait, whom are you going to hold responsible? I hope not the defense or agriculture minister. You'll definitely be pointing fingers at the finance minister. Am I getting it? If ever the defense of our country is in a complete wreck, imagine there's an external threat time and again. Maybe China trying to attack over us, or maybe across the LOC. The Pakistani infiltrators are coming in. That point in time, whom are you going to hold responsible? An agriculture minister or the finance minister? Of course, it's a defense minister. So it simply implies one thing. Individual responsibility would mean every individual minister shall be responsible to his or her department or ministry. And if ever one fails to perform well, there may be a possibility of passing of no confidence motion, or maybe a cut motion, or censure motion. Maybe, as in future, we will definitely discuss about the motions more. All right? So I hope you can get the individual responsibility. Okay, next thing in this collective responsibility. All right, look at the term collective responsibility. We talked about individual responsibility, but now collective responsibility. There's a phrase that we use here, a very common phrase. We swim and sink together. Or we say sail and sink together. All right, as I would say, we swim and sail together. That is what happens in collective responsibility. Well, let us put it this way. As in a parliamentary form of government, whenever Prime Minister and his team or the cabinet, whenever they take any decisions, number one, whenever they take any decisions, it should, or rather it would rather mean it is the decision of the entire Council of Ministers. That means, at present, if you look at PM Modi and his team, or the cabinet members, they have a very close group. They make decisions, you know. They, you know, when we talk about this lockdown that we're facing, they took the decision. We talk about demonetization, they took the decision, right? Okay, so whenever they take any decision, it is considered that this decision is the decision of the entire Council of Ministers. Nobody can defy that. For example, look at me, all right? Imagine you're the Prime Minister and your group, our cabinet, you take the decision. I'm also one of the members over there. And if ever I tend to oppose your decision, that point in time, you know, I may be asked to resign. All right? Whenever I oppose, we use the term again over here, crossing the floor. All right? And that point in time, I may have to face the wrath of the Prime Minister and I may be asked to resign. But however, please understand, in collective responsibility, this is what we write. The decision that is made by the PM or the Prime Minister and his cabinet, it is considered to be the decision of the entire Council of Ministers. Number one, that's what you write. Number two, it's plain and simple. What happens if Prime Minister resigns? I hope all of you should be knowing by now, being class 12, what happens if Prime Minister resigns? The entire Council of Ministers would resign. That leads to the dissolution of the House. So you understand, one person, Prime Minister resigning, entire House dissolving. Collective responsibility, we are sinking together. I hope you're getting it. Okay, so one more point you can add over here. That is, if ever no confidence motion is passed against the government, for example, let us talk about today, at the present scenario. Imagine the BJP government. To this government, if no confidence motion is passed as in Lok Sabha, then entire members will have to resign, and that leads to the dissolution of Lok Sabha. And that will look forward to have a new government. All right? So, collective responsibility, first thing what we write over here is, we swim and sink together. Right? Number one. Number two, we write over here about the decision of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet is the decision of the entire Council of Ministers. We are sailing together. Next thing you can write over here is, when Prime Minister resigns, the entire Council of Ministers will have to resign. And of course, lastly, as I said to you all, I hope you all have taken it into account, all right, if no confidence motion is passed, so that point in time, the entire House will collapse. Right, another very important feature is this structure of executive involves wheels within wheels. Well, wheels within wheels. Well, let us go back into olden days when I believe, I don't know, you guys are very young, but again, I'm sure most of you may have heard the song, Chakki pe chakka, chale agari, all those, it goes by those lines. I'm not very familiar, but howsoever, look at this. Okay, the structure of the executive involves wheels within wheels. So let me make it this way. This is how the structure we have in a parliamentary form of government, all right? Chakke pe chakka, or the wheels within wheels. Well, I'm not very good in drawing, however, I'm trying my best to make the best circle over here, right? This is how it works, okay? Wheels within wheels. And what are these wheels? I like just to refer to you as we are here in India, all right? I like to refer to the Indian wheels. Basically, it's same with UK as well, but they just have different names, which I may tell you later. All right, in India, if you talk about the wheels, look at this. Right inside, we have the PMO, the Prime Minister's office, all right? And thereafter, we have what we call as, the cabinet, all right? Thereafter, we have this, we call it to be as the Ministers of State, NIST, State, all right, Minister of State. Then we have the Deputy Ministers. And then right outside we have the circle, or the wheel, we call it to be as Parliamentary. Parliamentary executives. Sorry, parliamentary secretaries. Please bear with my handwriting. I hope you all can see and understand. Okay, so here we go. All right, look at this. The structure of executive involves wheels within wheels. When I started, I told you one thing, executive. When we say executive, they are the political executives. The other executive would be permanent executive. We have to deal it in a different way later. But as of now, these executives that we're talking about, they are the political executives, and they are the part of the legislature, right? The structure of executive involves wheels within wheels. Chakke pe chakka, all right? Chakke pe gaadi, chale ad gaadi. That is how we talk about, or sing, we used to sing this song. However, look at this. The innermost wheel that we have is the PMO, the Prime Minister's office. Right? Important decisions being made or discussions goes on over here. PMO. Okay? Very powerful. And outside this, what we have is the cabinet. When I say cabinet, cabinet members are basically small in numbers, okay? All right, let's put it over here. Okay, 15 to 20. Very small in number. Well, these cabinet members are set of very, very powerful set of ministers. All right. For example, when we talk about powerful set of ministers, remember the defense minister, the finance minister, the health ministers. Okay. Important, holding important portfolios or departments. So cabinet ministers, 15 to 20. They are the ones who takes important decisions along with the prime minister. Of course, prime minister's say is final. He is the, you can say, the captain of the ship. He is the person who takes the important decisions, but however, they are the ones who are helping the prime minister to take the important decisions. So cabinet ministers, they are small in numbers. I have written over 15 to 20. All right, very, very small yet powerful set of ministers holding important portfolios or departments. Here, the next wheel, what we see over here is the ministers of state. Well, children, please don't ever get confused. I'm saying this right here in the beginning. These ministers of state are not the ministers from Bengal or Bihar or any other state or Sikkim or Goa elsewhere. They are also the members of the Lok Sabha, but the designation is ministers of state. Now these ministers, let me tell you, they may hold independent departments or they may assist the cabinet ministers. So they have this function. They may hold independent departments or they may assist or help the cabinet ministers. So they are the ministers of state. Outside the ministers of state, we have here set of deputy ministers. The deputy ministers will always be helping the minister of the state as well as the cabinet. And right outside, what we have over here is the parliamentary secretaries, right? So now, these parliamentary secretaries are the trainee ministers, we say that, okay, or would-be ministers. So this is the basic structure that we have as in the executive, where the structure is wheels within wheels. I hope that's all right. Let's look into another very important feature here. Non-fixed tenure of the real executive, that is the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. Another very important point, children. Okay. What is the tenure of the Prime Minister of India? Well, there's a pause. So it's okay. You tell me. Okay, it's 5 years. So, along with the Prime Minister, entire Council of Ministers, they elected for how many years? Lok Sabha members, they elected for how many years? 5 years. But one thing for sure, I'm sure all of you have learned, as you all have reached class 12, the tenure is not fixed. So in a parliamentary form of government, what happens is the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers, even though they are elected for 5 years here in India, the tenure is not fixed. Why? Because if ever no confidence motion is passed, then what will happen? Even before the expiry of the term of 5 years, the House will collapse. For 5 years they are elected. In the third year of their tenure, no confidence motion is passed, the House will collapse. If the Prime Minister resigns, the entire House, entire team members of the Council of Ministers, they will all have to resign. So simply remember, the tenure of the executives as in a parliamentary form of government is not fixed. Because if vote of no confidence motion is passed, the House will collapse. If the Prime Minister resigns, the entire House will get dissolved. So I'm sure this is a very simple point, yet important. Okay, Prime Minister is the head of the government. Okay, this is another very simple point, okay? Just to brief you more about it, okay? Prime Minister in a parliamentary form of government, he is the real executive, number one. He is the leader of the majority party. He is the leader of the government. He is the person who is taking all the important decisions. Right? So these are the basic points which you shall write. All the important decisions are taken by the Prime Minister as in a parliamentary form of government. He advises the President. It may be carried out in the name of the President, but only on the advice of the Prime Minister. Right? So this is another very simple point. Okay. Prime Minister or Cabinet can get the Legislature dissolved. Well, in fact, we have already discussed in the previous point, when we look at the Prime Minister, the Cabinet can get the Legislature dissolved. Look at this, it's very simple. It's a kind of a repetition of the previous points that we have done. What happens if the Prime Minister resigns? The House will get dissolved. As simple as that. So you can simply write that point in this. Okay, political homogeneity and the secrecy of the office. We'll look into the very first term over here, political homogeneity, all right? This is what we shall be discussing first. All right. Many times we often get confused, and this is absolutely, contradictory to the presidential form of government, right? Political homogeneity. If you look at this term, political homogeneity, look at the term, firstly, the part over here, homo, all right, which means same. In a parliamentary form of government, what happens is the government is always formed by the same political party which has won the election, or the party which has been able to gain the majority or get the majority votes shall form the government. I'd like to show it to you all here. If I may ask you, at present, which party is ruling India? I'm sure all of you would say BJP or Bharatiya Janata Party, right? And who is the Prime Minister? Okay, the Prime Minister would be, it's PM Modi, right? BJP. Now, which is the party you can say which has every time been opposing BJP? I'm sure all of you would say is the Congress, right? Or it could be TMC or whatever. You know. Just to have an idea here. Okay, the election went on. BJP got the majority votes, and they have formed the government, and they have the Prime Minister. We have the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. But you must have given a thought, okay? They haven't taken anyone from the Congress or the TMC, right? So political homogeneity basically means this. When the government is formed, since they are the party to gain the majority, they have not taken any members from another political party. So in political homogeneity, simply what you can write is this. The government is formed by only one party or the same party which has won the election. So I refer to India. If you talk about BJP and the Congress or the TMC, BJP got the majority votes. They have formed the government, so they have not taken anyone from Congress or TMC. I hope that's all right. Okay, let's go to UK. All right, this is the Indian context. Let's go to UK. All right, if you talk about UK, it's more simple, all right? In UK, basically, you have to understand here, they have bi-party system, all right? Two major political parties contending, all right? So the two major parties, okay, Labour, all right, and the Conservatives. So in UK, being a parliamentary form of government, what happens is, if Labour wins the election, they will form the government only of the Labour Party. They will not take any member from the Conservatives. So Conservatives will remain as an opposition political party. Right? If they win, they'll form the government, and this will always remain there as the opposition party. However, there are other political parties like Liberal Democrats and all, but however, please remember, these are the two major contending political parties as in United Kingdom. Right? So political homogeneity is whereby the government is formed by the party which wins the election with the majority, and they will not take members from the other contending political parties. That's it, political homogeneity. Now, secrecy of the office. Well, it's a very simple note that you have to understand here. I told you important decisions are taken by the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. Of course, Cabinet and the Council of Ministers. Well, whenever they take any decisions, it is all meant to be kept secret. Until and unless it is to be made public through the discussions and debates or the deliberation that goes on as in the legislature. It is meant to be kept secret. And divulging, disclosing whatever discussions, that would be made absolutely official. Or else, all the members who've had the discussions, they're all supposed to keep it as the official secret. So this is about political homogeneity and the secrecy of the office. Okay, these were some of the salient features of the parliamentary form of government. I hope it would be helpful for you all. All right. If there are any issues, you can always put in the feedback. All right. You can ask questions. All right. So today, I think I should wind up. That's all for now, at least with the parliamentary form of government. But before I leave, I just want to say something to all of you children here. Okay. This lockdown phase is rather, I think you should take it as a blessing. All right. Make right use of the time. Okay. And I like to just quote one very old Scottish saying, okay, slante more, right? Keep all of you in good health, you, family, and entire people around the world, all right? Thank you, stay safe, God bless.